Look, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, I lay the cards out, and they're the ones that tell you your future. No, Fred, listen, bud. I can't control them. Okay, you drew the cards, and I put them down where they're supposed to be, and that's just what it says. It's gonna be a bad year for you, man. Oh, hey guys. Um, I was just yeah. There's a little bit to explain with all of this. Let me finish up with Fred here, and then you guys meet me back over on the couch, and then we can discuss this whole everything. Yeah, that's the best idea. So yeah, I'll see you guys over on the couch then. Let me just close this down here. Lift that up. All right. Welcome back to the Least Professional channel on YouTube. How's everybody doing today? Awkward opening aside, today we're going to talk about tarot cards in case you hadn't figured that out from the cards laying out on the table there. If you've never heard of tarot cards, don't worry. We're going to go into a little bit of history of them and talk a little bit more about where tarot cards came from and what they're used for. So as far as where tarot cards came from, it's thought that it's not really 100% known, but there's a pretty good idea of the history. So it's thought that they were first invented in the 15th century, essentially to play cards. There was a bunch of different card games that they were used for, and they usually were intricately painted. They had different designs on them, and typically more wealthy individuals were able to have a deck because basically you would have a deck created for you because it had to each individually be made. Now, sometime around the 18th century is when it's believed that they started being used for divination. And divination, if you're not familiar, is basically the idea of like telling the future or prophecies, that kind of stuff. But it was more on a localized, like personal scale. Not really for like worldwide events necessarily, but basically generally one-on-one tarot readings or tarot readings for individuals. So you could do a reading on yourself, or you could do a reading for someone that you knew. What it turned into was basically tarot cards are often associated with psychics or the occult. And basically, the occult is defined as anything supernatural, mystical, magical beliefs or practices or phenomenon. Typically, when you hear the word occult, you think of like devil worshippers and stuff like that. It's not really, I mean, that I guess is technically included in the occult, but it's more just based around magical kind of stuff and non-scientific. So basically, you have things that were scientific and things that were being studied by scientists. The occult would be considered everything else. So anything that couldn't be studied by science, which, you know, typically wound up being supernatural, mystical, magical type of stuff. Ghosts, the idea of ghosts and stuff like that might fall into the occult just because of the mystical, supernatural nature. So the use of tarot cards really depends on the person. So there's, like I said, there's a lot of different ways they can be used. A lot of times what most people will associate tarot cards with is psychics, because a lot of times you'll see, especially if you're driving through certain areas of the country, in the United States at least. I'm not sure about the rest of the world, but you might be driving around, you see a building that's got the sign on the window that says, you know, psychic, tarot card readings, telling your future, that kind of stuff. So that's one purpose that could be used for. As I've been researching this, one thing I've discovered is a more personal use for a lot of people. So there are a lot of people that will use tarot cards for personal reasons, and typically what those boil down to is discovering yourself, finding yourself. If you're unsure about things, you can use tarot cards to basically you lay them out, and if you have a question about an event going on in your life or where things are going, you read the cards, and it's supposed to give you like an idea of what the future is going to be like, or what to expect. And it's not necessarily you don't read the cards and say, well, this is exactly how things are going to go. A lot of people read the cards and they say, well, this is one potential future. And I think for some people it can be very comforting to have kind of that reassurance. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but it's just the way that some people use the cards. So when it comes to things like psychics, I've already done a video about that, obviously. I'll link that up here in case you haven't seen it. Okay, well, that was awkward. All of the smoke alarms started going off for no reason at all. Checked everywhere, walked around. I think it was a candle that my wife blew out. I'm not really sure. But we should be good to go now. So when a psychic gives a tarot reading, it's very similar to a horoscope in a lot of ways. Both have a lot in common in that they use Barnum Statements to generalize the information to fit the majority of circumstances. Now, horoscopes do this on a much broader scale, as a matter of fact, let's take this opportunity. I'm going to read my horoscope so that we can kind of go over that a little bit. All right, so I've got my my daily horoscope up here, and this is via l.com. I've checked a few different websites while I was doing research to kind of get an idea. They all kind of have different horoscopes, different ideas of like what the future could hold. But my horoscope, I happen to be a Gemini, in case you were curious. So my horoscope for February 2nd, which is the day I'm filming this, it says, "The brass ring is yours for the taking, twin. As the moon keeps its monthly appointment with bountiful Jupiter today in your ambition realm, higher-ups are rolling out the welcome mat for you. Seize any opportunity for face-to-face with a power player and make your pitch. Even if you don't hear the exact answer you're hoping for, your chutzpah won't go to waste. Play by the rules and navigate the system like the pro you are. Your winning combo of confidence and persistence will eventually get you to yes." Now that's it's a little more specific than a lot of them, but it's also very vague and very general, because when it says things like the higher ups are rolling out the welcome mat for you, that could be interpreted a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to necessarily be something with a job. It could also be something within a family, or friends, places that you shop, or any number of things could potentially apply to that, depending on how you look at it. And then it has other statements in here like play by the rules and navigate the system like the pro you are. Your winning combo of confidence and persistence will eventually get you to yes. Well, yeah, normally if you're persistent enough with most things, and if you know what you're doing, you can get what you want most of the time. It's not always the case, but that's such a generalized statement, and that's a good example of a Barnum statement. And it's the same thing if you watch tarot readings. There's examples of tarot readings online. If you ever go to a psychic to get a tarot reading, they'll give you these very vague general statements, and a lot of times psychics will do what's called cold reading. If they're not using Barnum Statements, which Barnum Statements, by the way, were named for P.T. Barnum. He was a well-known con man in the 1800s. There was a lot of other things that he had going on, but he's best looked back on as a con man. Basically, he kind of pulled the rug out of people and took advantage of a lot of people and a lot of stuff. He had his faults, all right? I'll just put it that way. So a Barnum statement is a generalized statement. Now, when a psychic is doing a tarot reading, a lot of times they're doing what's known as a cold reading. Sometimes it could be a hot reading, but the cold reading, essentially, somebody will sit down with them for a reading, and they might give them not a lot of information, but enough information that the psychic can kind of start pulling some more details from them and lay out some general statements. And when the cards come down, each card has its own individual meaning, and those meanings can be kind of twisted, and you can kind of see them however you want to see them. So any card at all in the deck could be used to kind of play into somebody's life. And when you're looking at a card, you might say, okay, well, this card typically has to do with, family life or group events. And, do you have any group events coming up? Do you have any get-togethers? It doesn't have to be anything major. Maybe a group of friends. Maybe you're doing something small. You're going to coffee with somebody. Any kind of gathering at all. And then the person might respond with, well, actually, I was getting together with a friend next week. Or me and the girls were going out for a coffee night, or whatever it happens to be. And they'll take that information and they'll kind of build onto it and build a story up. And it takes a lot of practice. It takes knowing the cards, and it takes really playing into whatever that the person's going to want to hear. And it doesn't always have to be good things. As a psychic doing a tarot reading, you could look at one of the cards and say, well, keep your eye out on this particular thing, or keep your there might be something coming into your life that's going to be a negative energy. Like they really focus on the energies and that kind of stuff. And it's all a show, and it's all they're basically, and I don't want to say that they're all duping people, because I think some of them genuinely believe that they have some kind of a connection to the afterlife, or what they call the spirit world, and they're not necessarily trying to harm people. Now, a lot of them are still charging people, which in a way is financial harm and taking advantage of people. But there's also a lot of people that don't charge people for readings. They aren't like up in some shop in some back room where you have to walk behind the beads, like that's the movie rendition of a psychic with tarot cards and stuff. You walk into the room and you split the beads and you walk in and there's all this mystic stuff everywhere. That's not always the case. And you might have a friend or a family member or somebody that you know that uses tarot cards, and maybe they don't advertise. They don't walk around telling everybody they use tarot cards. You might not even know, because they might keep it very private. And that's kind of the flip side of this, is a lot of people will get these cards and they'll use them to do readings on themselves. And I don't think inherently that that's a bad thing. Everybody deals with this thing we call life in a different way. And so you can have somebody who maybe they don't have another method. Maybe they aren't confident in themselves. Maybe they are unsure of things and they aren't sure what to do or what to say in any given circumstance. So they'll sit down and they'll give themselves a tarot reading, and they'll lay out the cards and they'll go over the meanings and try to interpret kind of, what could this mean? Not necessarily to say, yes, this is absolutely going to be my future. Like I said before, it's more of a general guideline of what could come to pass, or the best way to maybe approach a situation. And it can be a real confidence booster for some people. So that's why I don't think it's a bad thing per se. I think it's another tool, a thing that can be used for bad. Like I said in my psychic video, I don't believe in psychics. But I think that there's some people out there that maybe have a deeper sense of empathy, and they have a closer connection. Like, they can really empathize with somebody who's going through something difficult. So it's a lot easier for them to sit down and kind of go through those things with people and help people along. So that's why I'm kind of torn on the whole, I bought my own deck. So I've got my own deck of tarot cards, as you saw, and I actually bought them for this video. And maybe for some future projects, I'm not really sure. But I wanted to really kind of put myself into the world and see what this was all about and play around with it a little bit and get an idea, because I wasn't very familiar with tarot cards before I started looking into this video. I knew about them, and I knew that they were associated with like psychic readings and that kind of thing, but I didn't know a whole lot. And I've never had a tarot card reading. I've never had anybody that I knew that could sit down with me and kind of talk about it. And maybe at some point in the future, I'll see if I can connect with somebody that is more well-versed than I am when it comes to tarot cards, and maybe if they're comfortable getting on camera and doing something, maybe reading, maybe just like a discussion, because I'd really love to have a discussion with somebody that wholeheartedly uses these on a regular basis and is more into them, so that I can learn more about it. Because at the end of the day, that's what a lot of this channel is about, is just learning more about the world around us and how we know the things we know, and trying to uncover the things, the mysteries and things that interest me and hopefully interest you guys. I assume if you're still watching at this point in the video, you're interested enough. Hit the like button if it's been helpful. If you hadn't heard of tarot cards, or if you weren't familiar with them or as familiar with them, and if this is giving you any kind of information that you didn't have before, that would be greatly appreciated, because I've been trying to kind of push more videos out, and it's been difficult lately, I'll just say that. So I wanted to add a little short thing in here at the end. So like I said earlier, this is February 2nd that I'm filming this on. We actually have a major winter storm coming through Ohio right now. So in the next couple of days, it's probably likely that we're going to lose power at some point, because we're supposed to get like a quarter of an inch of ice or half an inch of ice, which that's just going to tear everything up. So I'm going to try to get this video uploaded and sent out by Friday evening. So that'll be February 4th. So if I can, I'm going to schedule it for that. And then my goal, if I don't lose power and things go really well, I've got a couple more videos that I want to film, including the next Ohio Legends and Tales video over the next few days. And I'm thinking Sunday this week might be, depending on how things are going, might be good enough that I can get out and maybe get the next episode of Reaper film, because I've been really excited to get that one done. I've got it scripted, I've got everything written up and planned, I know where I'm going to shoot, it's just a matter of getting the weather to go do it. So all of that's coming up. I'm really excited for some of the videos that I've got coming up. I've got one that's going to be talking about YouTube a little bit, just some thoughts that I've had. I've been on the platform for now 7 months almost. Actually, it's been a little over 7 months. So I've been doing this for a little over 7 months, and I've learned some things. So I thought maybe I'd make a video sharing some of the things that I've learned for any aspiring YouTubers out there, or anybody that's just curious, because I've gotten at least one comment. Yeah, I got a comment from Patty Shee the other day that I loved it, because she was asking questions about what YouTubers can see on the back end and some of the things. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and kind of go into basically the back end of YouTube and talk a little bit about that and some of my thoughts on being, I guess, a YouTuber. I'm a YouTuber now, I guess. But yeah, so that's coming up as well. So I've got a lot of different stuff in the works. So keep an eye out in the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to be doing some more shorts. I want to try and get some more shorts, maybe a couple of shorts a week, just to kind of experiment a little bit and see what that life is like, because I've heard YouTube's really been promoting shorts for the past few months, and it sounds like it's a way to kind of grow an audience a little bit and get out there. So I want to try that out and just kind of test the waters and see how it goes. Kind of an experiment of sorts. So between shorts, the Ohio Legends and Tales series, hopefully the next Reaper video, should have a lot coming up in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be really busy, but a lot of awesome, fun stuff. So keep an eye out for all of that. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and put the video up here. Go check that one out if you haven't already. And yeah, that's all I've got. I want to thank you all for watching. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.